Today, I want to show you how you can build a full stack application and not get so stuck that you want to pull your hair out. There's so many videos on YouTube of how to build $1 million app in 10 minutes. Most of that is just marketing hype. The video might be 10 minutes, but if you follow these tutorials, it will take you hours or days, and most likely you are going to get stuck very quickly and stop making progress because most of them show just the bits that worked and skip the parts that didn't. The truth is that to build actual production-ready apps, you need to understand the code. Otherwise, you cannot maintain, fix, or improve the code. That being said, a minority of the applications are production apps, and most of applications are non-production apps. And the additional benefit is that by doing these smaller projects, you will pick up basic coding knowledge, and over time, you will build more complex apps. So today, we'll go over step by step the process from making a good prompt of the initial idea to project setup to testing out dependencies and finally building out the front end, back end, along the way fixing some bugs. For example, we'll look at how to break down the idea into specific features, how to prevent errors when working with third-party libraries, how to debug AI problems, and so on. By the end, you should have a tested and repeatable process that allow you to build prototypes very quickly. The app we'll be building today is inspired by AI Jason's video. AI Jason is another YouTuber that shares very helpful tips and workflows on building AI apps, so definitely check out his channel. And he basically built a clone of a software called Gummy Search that allows you to analyze posts from Reddit. So here is Gummy Search. Essentially, you can search for different subreddits, and within each subreddit, you can watch for different themes, such as hot discussions, self-promotions, money talk, and so on. This is a very helpful tool to watch for signals in terms of what people are talking about. So we'll be building on top of this today, but making two improvements. One is the ability to add custom themes. In Gummy Search, the themes are predefined, so we want to add new themes. And the second improvement is that we want to be notified via Slack when a new post triggers one of the themes or topics. So these are the two improvements we'll be making. The entire tutorial will be broken into three parts. The first part is setup. We will set up the project. We will work on the initial prompt to prevent us from getting stuck in the first place. And in the second part, we'll look at API integration, so how to hook up Reddit, how to hook up OpenAI, and so on. And in the last part, we will hook up the backend with Supabase, such that we have persistence of data. And we'll also set up notification system with Slack. And finally, we'll deploy it. We'll be using Cursor for this project because it's built-in AI capabilities, which really just saves time. But the principles will apply to any AI code editor. Perhaps the most important part of the entire process is to slow down first and plan out the core features. We can do this with a PRD, product requirement document. And this step is very important because it creates alignment between you, the builder, and the AI, so that the AI doesn't build something that you don't want, or worse, sometimes without this alignment, the AI would delete features you do want. So when you try to add an additional feature, it will do that, but delete one of the prior features you've already implemented. And you definitely don't want that. First, we're going to start with product overview, which is a quick introduction of what the project is about. So we're building a Reddit analytics platform where the users can get analytics of different subreddits, and they can see top contents, see category of posts. Users will be notified via Slack when a post is about a specific topic that's specified by the user. For the tech stack, we'll be using Next.js on the front end and Supabase in the back end. We'll also use shadcn for some UI components and lucid icons just to make things look modern and pretty. One thing to note here is I'm actually going to get rid of Supabase for now because in this part, in the first part, we just want to focus on setting up the project and focus on the front end. If we do this back end too early, it's going to introduce a lot of complications and complexity that makes it more difficult for the AI. So we're going to add the front end first and then add the back end later. Features and functionalities are the most important part of the PRD because it tells the AI specifically what do you want. So it makes a lot of sense to spend a lot of time here and flesh out what are the different pages you want, what are the different behaviors, what are the user interactions you expect to have. And this is going to take a bit of time, but it's going to save you a lot of headache down the road. So I have already mapped this out, and this took me a while to create, but again, it makes a lot of sense, and you can use ChatGPT or Claude to help you flesh this out as well. But for example, we will first want to see a list of available subreddits, and we want the ability to add new subreddit. We want to be able to see a subreddit page with two tabs, top posts and topics. And then we specify what we want to see in the topics page. And further, we want to be able to fetch Reddit posts and show them in the top post. There are more details here, but I won't go through them one by one. Essentially, you want to be able to clearly communicate to the AI what you're expecting, what kind of behavior you want to see. Next part is the folder structure, and to get the folder structure, let's first use shadcn to template out the project. So shadcn is a component library that gives you pre-existing components that can be used in your application. So you don't have to write your own React components. This saves a lot of time, but also keeps everything nice, clean, and uniform. So we're going to use shadcn boilerplate here to get started. So let's take a look. We're gonna grab the npm command and go to our cursor, and let's go to, so we are going to make yes, we'll choose Next.js. We're just going to take the default options, and now we have the project here. We should be able to go into that, and if we do npm run dev, we should have a boilerplate project up and running. Look, it's running at localhost 3000. All right, so we have the boilerplate up and running. Now we can grab the folder structure. To grab the folder structure, we're going to use the tree CLI library, command line library, to generate the folder structure. So the way to install it is pretty straightforward. You just have to do npm install -g, which is a global install, and tree CLI. This should install the library, and then you just have to run the command to grab the flow structure. So I'm going to open a new terminal here, and I already have it installed. So we can first go to our project directory, and we can do tree L2, which will print 2 levels of directories. And we also want to ignore the node modules and Git directories. So let's do this. And we can see that it has printed the folder structure. So let's just grab this and paste it here. At this point, we have most of the product requirement document, and I'm going to use this master prompt to just refine this document further. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to add details. We don't want to actually create any code, just PRD. We also want to add implementation details to the core features and functionalities we've outlined. We want to update file structure and add additional files if necessary, but we want to tell the AI to create as few files as possible. So let's copy this whole thing, and we're going to go to ChatGPT. We'll paste it here. Here I'm using the O1 model because I found it to work best for this task, and we can submit it. Okay, let's take a look. Pretty comprehensive. So here the best thing to do is take a quick look at it. You don't have to worry about the implementation details too much, but just make sure that it is what you want at a high level. Okay, we're just going to copy everything and bring it back to cursor. We're going to replace our initial content with a new one and take another scan, get rid of any of the stuff we don't need. That looks pretty good. And let's get rid of the summary as well. All right, now we have the PRD. We can actually start implementation. Before I forget, I need to install some shadcn libraries, or rather shadcn components. So we want a button, input dialog, label, sheet, skeleton, label, apps. Let's start with that for now. Okay, perfect. And I need to update my directory actually. The last thing we need to do, which is actually very important, is that we need to open the project, open cursor in the right project. So right now, cursor is actually on the directory of Reddit _ app2. We need to open the Reddit sense project. And before we do that, let's just move the PRD into that project first. Okay, and we're going to go to Reddit sense, and we can type cursor dot to open that project. You can also use the command palette in cursor, which is Command Shift P and Control Shift P if you're on Windows, and click search for open recent, which will allow you to open any project. Okay, so now we're in here. Let's take a look at our PRD again, and we can finally start it with feature development. So I opened up Composer, and the idea here is to do it feature by feature, step by step. And first, we're going to copy that first feature within core features and functionalities. We're going to paste it here and tell it to AI to start implementing this app. We will do 3.1 subreddit management. And I have it on 3.5 Sonnet, which is still the best model. And let's turn on agent mode, which gives Composer the ability to automatically apply changes to my files. So what's cool about agent mode is that it has the ability to use tools. In this case, it's first checking out all of my files to make sure that it understands the context, and then it starts automatically applying changes to my project. This process can take a bit of time. What I like to do is just scroll over it and get a high-level understanding of what files it's creating and what changes it's making. Okay, it wants to create or actually install a few UI components. All right, let's take a look at what it did. So we're going to start the project again with npm run dev, and let's go to localhost 3000. All right, there seems to be an error. Just copy this back to cursor and tell it to fix it. Most likely it's just missing an npm or import for use effect. It seems like it was able to fix the issue. It was missing the use client because it forgot that it's using next 15. Let's go back here and you can see that there are subreddits. Of course, we haven't implemented the actual page yet, so it's 404, but this is exactly what we're expecting. You can add new subreddit as well. All right, that looks good. So we can go back to cursor and move on to the next feature. So before I do that, I'm going to accept all, and let's just commit our changes. So we're going to go to the source control, and we will take a look here. Let's just add all, and then we're going to say added 3.1 subreddit management. Let's commit that so we can have a checkpoint here. And now we're ready to move on to the second feature. Let's open a new composer and we'll copy 3.2. Let's implement 3.2 subreddit page and we'll submit it. I like having the source control view open so I can see what changes, what files is editing while the chat is generating. So we can see that it added a new page, TSX, the subreddit page. I also added a component for the top posts and topics, just what we expected. Right, let's see what the effects are. Let's refresh this and let's go to ChatGPT. Right, it's a 404. Interesting. Let's take a look at console. Let's see that there's a 404 error. We just make sure it has the latest changes, so I'm just restarting it. So 404. Okay, let's tell ChatGPT to fix, tell Cursor to fix this. So if I refresh, this is back to Cursor. Finally, it fixed the errors, and we can verify that it's working. It's a good idea to go over the pages that were created and just validate that there's no obvious issues here. So here we're just going to accept all, and let me go back and refresh, just make sure good. I would like a button to go back to the home page. So this is actually a perfect opportunity to say this is a minor adjustments within a bigger feature. So it's okay to continue in the same chat. If it's a completely new feature, it'll be best to start that in a new composer. So here I'm going to say add a button that lets me go back to the home page. I want to add the button inside the subreddit page. This is done. Yep, back to home. Each of these. Perfect. The UI is not really great right now, and ideally I want this button probably on the right-hand side or in the bottom, but we can always tweak the UI later. Now we can continue with the third core feature, which is topic management. And since it's a new feature, let's start a new composer window. And actually, before we continue, I'm going to again add our changes, and that we have completed 2 is the page. Now we can go to part 3, and we will do implement 3 topic management. The changes in making topic feature management. Seems like it's done. Let's take a look. We have topics now. Not sure why it's so. Screenshot of this. Go back. Fix it. It was just having duplicate views. One was view only, and the row in the bottom was clickable. So it's going to fix that. That works. We're done with quickly finished up the first part, which is the setup of the project and the basic front end. And we also have a pretty well scaffolded project that we can now improve on. We always want to prevent errors from happening in the first place. That's a better strategy than constantly trying to fix things. The more you try to fix the AI, the more spaghetti code, the more patches the AI applies onto the code base, which makes the code even more error prone. So we want to do everything we can to prevent errors from happening in the first place. And there are a couple ways we can do that. As we showed today, the first is you want to create a PRD to create alignment between you and the AI. This accomplishes 2 things. One is creates high-level context. The AI knows what you're trying to do, such that when you ask to do one feature, it doesn't break other features, it doesn't delete other features. But 2, it also breaks down a large idea into specific smaller tasks that the AI can execute on. The second is to use boilerplate or templates to start your project. So instead of relying on AI to write every single line of code, we want to use code that has already been tested and already works. So in terms of starting a project, that means using something like shadcn or create next app to scaffold out the initial project to prevent errors from happening in the first place. And the last thing is to start new chats for new features. This keeps the context tight. It also reduces the room for the AI to make a mistake, such that when it makes one mistake, we can quickly correct it instead of letting the errors compound and pile up to a point where we really don't know how to fix the errors anymore. So these are the tips I have for starting a new project. In the next video, we're going to go over the backend, hooking up the API, and potentially deploying the app into production.